After 4 years of being best friends, I feel like a second fiddle to my boyfriend's new friend. You made me look like a dickhead, he said after I got hurt. Now he's off celebrating with her instead of me for a special event I'd longed to attend. Can we ever fix this? This issue has persisted for the past 8 to 10 months. In our relationship, we were essentially best friends for 4 years. We always engaged in enjoyable activities together and contributed equally. He often invited me to do things or spend time together. He genuinely enjoyed being around me, and I felt secure in that because it was crystal clear and consistent. He defended me, ensured my comfort, and seemed happiest when I was around. This was the perfect recipe for security. Hence, I felt secure. I understand what that looks like and feels like. I won't enumerate all the positive aspects here because I want to address the current issue, but I want to emphasize that there are very good reasons for my concerns. In summary, my boyfriend has not been meeting my needs for bonding time together, but he continues to go out with his gay best friend. They are now doing an activity that I had requested for months, and frankly, I believe I've reached a breaking point of jealousy. I suspect he may care for their relationship more than ours. I am uncertain if I need more therapy or if I simply need to develop a backbone, as I struggle to trust my own feelings about whether I am overreacting. Please, no breakup advice. This is an attempt to seek advice, so it will not be all sunshine and rainbows. However, I have no intention of allowing this issue to be the downfall of our relationship since there is so much that I value. In recent weeks and months, he has made unexpected efforts to make me happier, feel more supported, and feel more loved. He is generally willing to help or do what he can in nearly everything. However, this series of events has turned into a significant issue for us, and I genuinely want to manage it rather than feel so uncomfortable. At this moment, we do not go out unless I repeatedly urge him and plan it. He can get blackout drunk with his best friend, a 27-year-old woman, but he no longer wants to go out drinking with me, claiming he is anxious about looking after me, protecting me, or getting me home. I've never caused any problems while drunk for him or our friends when I go out. I have previously expressed my concerns about his performance in bed, but I do not believe that is too aggressive. When I suggest merely participating in non-drinking activities or dates, he agrees and seems generally positive, but he won't make the effort to arrange anything unless I firmly insist that it is an issue. He does not invest in or prioritize our bonding or going out. His friendship with her is a contentious topic, and I will explain why this has escalated as we continue because I wonder if it is just my issue, but I do not know how to resolve it. I genuinely think she is a nice person, and I do not believe she is doing anything inappropriate or offensive. She has been kind. I note this because he genuinely seems to think I dislike her, which is not true. I despise how easily he interacts with her. I've explained this numerous times, hence my reaching out for advice. Honestly, I am not convinced she likes me based on previous interactions, but I do not dislike her. I just feel hurt and, to be honest, uncomfortable. She is single but is not interested in men, so I do not suspect anything inappropriate is happening in terms of an affair. I do not feel insecure about his relationships with any of his other friends, all of whom are of a similar age and mostly straight women. You would think that if it were an issue of me disliking his friends, it would be those who could potentially express interest in him. Furthermore, despite observing her behavior, I am confident he is loyal and would never betray me. He would simply leave the relationship rather than cheat. Therefore, I genuinely believe my issues do not stem from any suspicions of infidelity. They go out together most weekends, while he insists it is rarely more than once a month. However, in recent weeks, he has seen her alone every weekend. If I want to spend a weekend with him, I must schedule it in advance and ask him explicitly. He never suggested himself. We have one weeknight reserved for our time together unless I request otherwise. I have repeatedly asked for more days and regular weekends over the past year, but it has not happened consistently. He agrees but then expresses how exhausted and burnt out he is, or he may say yes but responds defensively, stating, fine, we will do these days. I back off and feel guilty for requesting so much of him since he struggles with his mental health, which I genuinely recognize and I fear exacerbating it. However, he makes no effort to suggest times to bond or spend time together unless I make it an issue. Therefore, it has been challenging to accept that he can have an easygoing time with her whenever she texts, "Hey, let's go out," while I must negotiate for a similar experience. Approximately 3 years ago, we took a break in our relationship. There were mental health issues we had not addressed on either side, and neither of us acted fairly. I can comfortably say we both dropped the ball, needing to work independently and together. We have spent considerable time working on ourselves, and throughout the break, we did not completely cut contact. We frequently reunited and missed one another, although it was challenging. During that time, he became good friends with her through another acquaintance, so their friendship has lasted about 2 years. They planned to attend an event I initially wanted to go to with him before our spell apart. Obviously, we were not a couple when they made those arrangements, so I know I have no ground for complaint. He was clear that it was her suggestion and she did the planning. It was an event we would usually treat each other to for special occasions, a romantic dinner date followed by a show, but I recognized that some people attend such events as friends. After the event, he admitted he told her he felt bad about not being able to go with me, which I appreciated. I expressed that these events held special significance for us, so perhaps we could save those moments for each other because they meant a lot to me. He seemed to understand at the time, but reassured me he did not view it strictly as a romantic occasion. I wonder if my reaction was over the top, but that was how I felt, and I aimed to be open and honest since it was an uncomfortable topic. At that point, there were no further issues. Once another event with a new theme was announced shortly after, I asked him if we could attend that one together instead so I could share that experience with him, as it was important to me. He agreed, and I thought that was great. A few months later, I expressed my desire to meet this new friend since she appeared significant to him, and I wanted to get to know her, so we arranged a night out. To be honest, it felt strange as soon as I arrived. He sat next to her instead of me and discussed topics concerning people I did not know. I attempted to engage, but I struggled to find anything to say since I was unfamiliar with the stories and references they shared. Although they turned to me occasionally to ask something and seemed pleased I was there, the conversation continually reverted to their mutual interests. He sat across the table from me, adjacent to her, and I felt like a third wheel trying to avoid checking my phone, which was the last thing I expected when he reassured me about my nerves prior to the meeting. It was embarrassing, and I felt uncomfortable since I had never experienced such awkwardness before. I told him I felt like the third wheel when she went to the bathroom, and he apologized, assuring me he did not want that to happen. But it seemed like I remained in that position throughout the evening. I voiced my discomfort more than once during the few times we had alone moments. Later, we went to another bar where she introduced everyone, the four of us together, to the bartender except me, and neither he nor she corrected it. I tried to convince myself that their forgetfulness was simply a consequence of drinking and my nerves. But unfortunately, the third wheel feeling lingered, leading me to question my behavior and whether I made a mistake. We did eventually sit down together, and she positioned herself next to me to chat, and we jokingly teased him together. I thought, oh my goodness, I was just being anxious. Finally, this is lovely and nice. I must have just been overthinking and nervous. We went to the bathroom together, as women do, and I thought it was a good opportunity to be away from the guys and perhaps have a little conversation. I attempted to speak casually, but it felt as though she was not interested in talking much, which confused me because I thought things were going well and she would like to speak with me one-on-one, but perhaps she was just being nice for his sake. His other female friends have always been welcoming and made an effort to connect with me, so the vibes I was receiving were unusual and made me second-guess myself. Towards the end of the night, things became more relaxed and the atmosphere improved. We were drinking and being silly together, and I perceived we were getting along. I genuinely felt relieved to no longer feel awkward, believing it was merely in my head a typical anxious response to meeting new people. As we prepared to leave and head to get some food, I cut myself, and while it was not a serious injury, it did look bad and I struggled to walk because of it. It had literally just occurred as we exited the bar, and no one was aware yet since we were walking up the street. They both came out of the bar ahead of me, and he linked arms with her, walking a good distance in front of me while laughing. It stung to see him so engaged with her and to feel like I was forgotten, especially when he used to express that same excitement with me, which I realize may sound petty, but I hope you understand my viewpoint. He turned around and then recognized I was trailing behind and came to me, but I pushed him away a bit, feeling upset at what I had seen. She turned to look back at us but then continued ahead. We then sat on benches waiting for food, and she noticed my injury. I complained that it was quite unpleasant, mentioning how bad it looked, and she suggested to him that they should head home. He replied that we should walk back, but she essentially told him not to be inconsiderate and book a cab for me. He immediately became cold towards me. He booked an Uber in silence except for his complaints about the price. She left, and he was clearly annoyed with me. When we returned home, I attempted to discuss what had occurred, and he became upset, pushing me away. With tears in his eyes, he told me that he often talks me up, implying I seem like an angel and that I made him look bad in front of his friends, stating he hadn't even known I had hurt myself. He raised his voice and became challenging to handle while I was still upset and visibly distressed. It was a difficult situation, but he apologized the next day, acknowledging it may have been due to our drinking, yet it still deeply affected me. I had never seen him display such behavior toward me before, particularly not to the point of tears over someone else's opinion. Unfortunately, this incident looms large in my mind, and I desperately want to forget it because it has left me feeling very uncomfortable. I brought this up with him when we were sober and expressed how challenging it felt to be the third wheel and that I wanted to improve our experiences. He appeared receptive, Yet as I raised it again over time, he grew annoyed, which I understand since I was bringing it up multiple times. I should have addressed it just once. After thinking about our initial conversation, I wanted to talk more about it, but I would like to be understood, and I want to ensure I do not have to relive that experience again. He became defensive during these discussions, rolling his eyes when I explained how it felt to be left out, and that he could have positioned himself between us or next to me to help me feel comfortable instead of leaving me out. I was simply trying to clarify so he would understand and prevent that situation from recurring since it upset me, especially when he became rude at the end of the night over her perception of him. He was frustrated by the repetition of this issue, believing it was resolved. Now that it has become an issue, and since it had gone so poorly, he indicated he does not feel comfortable taking me out with her for a long time at the very least. When New Year's and his birthday arrived months later, I had anticipated we would celebrate together as we had done in previous years. I had taken him on vacations and to city outings before, so I found it an unusual expectation to not have any more. Historically, he has always been happy and enthusiastic around me. However, he stated he did not want to celebrate his birthday at all and did not want to spend New Year's Eve with me. Rather, he wished to go out drinking with only his friends. Unfortunately, his group size was not large, so he was referring specifically to her. I clarified this with him at the time. I resisted as we had not celebrated any holidays together at that point, and we had not informed our families that we were back together. He was not prepared to do that. I wanted to be included in this occasion. Ultimately, he went ahead with his plans. I accompanied him, but I was so anxious he would be upset with me again or that I would feel uncomfortable again, leading me to drink excessively and lose all memory of that evening. A few weeks later, he expressed that he resented me for insisting on celebrating with him, particularly since it had not resolved my feelings of insecurity regarding his friendship. I had hoped the enjoyable experience would overshadow the previous awkward event, but it did not. At this point, I felt completely insecure about the entire situation. It felt strange. I believed a significant part of our dynamic, the fun, secure, and easy friendship we once shared, had been supplanted by someone else. We were not spending any time together, no dates, big or small, and he became defensive regarding her, disregarding what I was trying to convey about how it hurt me. It became the narrative that I hate his friends and love him but will not sacrifice my friends for you. I had never asked him to do that, nor will I. The only thing I asked is that he not attend the event without me, as I had requested it in advance. I do not believe I am asking for something unreasonable. I simply do not want to feel like I am consistently being placed last compared to another person. I have also mentioned that I wish she would make more of an effort, similar to his other female friends, who have consistently engaged with me and made me feel comfortable. Yet she did not seem particularly interested in getting to know me, which compounded my confusion. He stated that I could not expect it all to be smooth since it was a new friend dynamic and that not all women connect easily and that this was acceptable. She is gay and very laid back, which I accept. However, he uses those complaints to argue that my issue is with her rather than the situation itself. I realize that I have discussed her, but the reality is she is not the core problem. She just unfortunately is intertwined with it. She seems like a genuinely nice person. However, I believe my perception of her disinterest has exacerbated my awkwardness, rather than any personality flaw on her part. I had spoken to my boyfriend about my feelings at the time, and he has even told me she has invited me out many times, but he just hasn't communicated that due to the drama between us. So I am firmly on the not her problem side. The difficulty lies in everything outside of that. I could handle just that if everything else were fine, our needs were met, and I did not have to fight for his attention. Then I would feel secure and rationalize that it could take time to warm up to her. I am an adult who has formed remarkable friendships despite having awkward initial interactions. I could understand it more if he were cheating or doing something egregious. While that would feel horrible, at least it would explain the difficulty in addressing and resolving the issues. Now, months after I first met her, she has become a no-go topic in our relationship since I am feeling sour about it and reactive whenever her name arises, particularly since nothing much has changed for us. Every time I bring up the need for more time together or some dates, he interprets it as me pushing for specific things, but nothing shifts, indicating he clearly does not want to pursue it, even though he professes to desire those nice aspects of our relationship with me. He is loving, kind, and considerate in every other aspect, and I have witnessed considerable improvements in his emotional and mental health this past year. I understand that it is a lengthy process within this context. I try to remain patient as we navigate our relationship after the break, but I am genuinely not asking for anything unrealistic, just quality time, dates, and healthy bonding normal relationship dynamics. He has recognized that it is not fair, appreciated how good I am with his numerous female friends, and I have expressed my concern about being overly jealous. He has stated he does not perceive me as a jealous girlfriend, which given the situation is comforting to hear. He acknowledges that enough is not being done concerning us. He values my understanding and patience, which leads me to believe that I can be patient as it is not that he is entirely oblivious to it, he merely needs more time. There are some mental health issues I am not disclosing here that he faces. As a result, I feel justified in being empathetic, and I do not want to be consumed with anger. I often feel guilt for feeling upset. He assures me he understands my feelings when I articulate my discomfort to him. In the moment, he seems to comprehend. However, he has begun to avoid discussing her, concealing his text messages, and not informing me whether he is spending time with her, which frustrates me. He claims this behavior stems from how I react. I do not lash out or say anything hurtful. I just exhibit visible discomfort and unhappiness. Therefore, he feels inclined to keep me in the dark unless I specifically ask about it, and I recognize that I become upset because I feel insecure and inadequate in comparison. I realize it sounds like the thief of joy, but it is a difficult sentiment to contend with. However, the secrecy only intensifies my suspicions that the situation is more concerning than it may appear. I genuinely do not know if I am being unreasonable in this entire situation or if I am simply upset due to insecurity. Technically, he has not betrayed me. He adheres to our routines, makes an effort to be available, and rearranges his schedule to accommodate plans I initiate. I feel stuck and have never experienced such insecurity in my life, particularly in this relationship. A couple of months have passed since she went away for an extended period, during which he joked we would have no worries for a few months. Before her departure, she inquired whether he was available for specific dates to organize a birthday surprise for him. Upon hearing this, I realized the dates aligned directly with the second event I had repeatedly discussed wanting us to attend together. I began to panic, knowing that if he were to go with her instead of me, I would feel incredibly hurt and upset as I had been explicit about my excitement toward attending. I did not want to deal with yet another situation that would lead to jealousy. I feel embarrassed about being a crazy, jealous girlfriend when it is not my character. I tried to discuss my feelings with him, expressing my discomfort at him going with her instead of me. He could simply inform her, "By the way, I am going with my girlfriend," before she departs since the event was months away and had not yet been confirmed. I explained how it would be difficult for me, as I considered this a special event that I had specifically requested, emphasizing the importance of boundaries. This exchange did not go as a conversation, but rather as me dictating his actions, which he found frustrating because he was already stressed that day. He reassured me that their planned activity was not significant. She was giving him a plant and they would go out, stating it had never been anything major like an event before. He genuinely did not like the theme of this year's event and intended to do it for me because it was his least favorite and he could not stand it. In hindsight, I believe I may have been overreacting, feeling insecure and amplifying things by attempting to set unnecessary boundaries. As the months passed, we were supposed to go away for a staycation for his birthday, but he requested we refrain from planning a significant event, as he felt overwhelmed and uncomfortable doing something so grand. It was his birthday, and he had the right to choose what he wanted, but it felt like he was pushing away the opportunity to celebrate our connection. He mentioned that time has passed since his birthday, even though he had previously indicated he wanted to wait until warmer weather for us to travel. My birthday went well without significant issues, so it is not as if he previously had a bad experience that caused him to withdraw. I naturally feel sad and worry that I am being distanced, wanting to celebrate him, but I refrain from insisting on activities without arguing over what I want for his birthday. He has asserted it is his birthday, and he should not have to comply with my desires if he does not wish to celebrate. To me, that is something special that seemingly changed in a disappointing manner. Now, since his friend returned from her trip, they have been going out regularly every other weekend, yet when she was away, he consistently stated he had no time, energy, or money to go out unless I pushed the issue again. We had one weekend I requested a month in advance, but organizing it felt burdensome, especially for something I wished to feel at ease about. I am fully aware she is still the one making plans. He is not suddenly a master planner, yet it remains difficult to accept. Therefore, I am upset every time they are out together because it is exceptionally effortless for him to do so with her compared to me. He has explained that he does not worry or care when going out with her. He can detach himself, leave when he feels like it, but he is constantly worried about going out with me and ensuring that I am safe and taken care of. One night he went out without my knowledge, as he informed me he would be home that day. After sending him a text, he initially did not respond, and when he finally did, he shared that he was out without offering a specific reason. Eventually, he admitted he would be out with her again. He disclosed that he does not inform me in advance to avoid any distress it may cause because he has recognized my issues surrounding this topic. Now, leading up to the event that I had been expressing interest in for months, he has made no plans with me. When I accepted that I would miss out or have to see it alone, I did not want any further upset, and I knew he was not going with someone else. However, she eventually divulged that she was taking him to the event as part of his birthday surprise. Naturally, this realization hurt me. After experiencing all of this, I anticipated he might say something, at least acknowledge the implications, and consider how his girlfriend would feel. I believe a good friendship should not hinder respecting a partner, and this could be communicated. He stated he would simply go with her and remain silent. He did not believe it was special enough to create tension between us, and he did not understand my feelings. He interpreted it as me not wanting him to enjoy himself with a friend. When I tried to explain how it felt as if I were merely tolerating, being patient with significant issues, yet still feeling left out repeatedly, he maintained that I had not promised anything when I previously conveyed my discomfort regarding this situation. Ultimately, he asserted it was neither his fault nor responsibility that she made this plan without knowing the necessary context, despite my prior attempts to avoid the situation by informing him of the significant dates in advance. I genuinely believe if any friend informed me they were unable to attend something predetermined with their partner because of a prior agreement, I would not take offense. Perhaps I am biased since I am looking at it from a personal perspective. We have had several discussions recently about this issue and his reluctance to engage in other activities. He believes the reason he cannot go out drinking with me as we once did stems from my lack of concern for his mental health. He feels anxious about looking after me or possibly acting in ways that might upset me when alcohol is involved. He claims he has no issues regarding my drinking or my behavior when intoxicated. He describes me as a fun, overly affectionate, clumsy drunk. He believes that he can only socialize with her and most friends if he has been drinking. He has also stated that he is not particularly close to her, nor do they engage in significant discussions. He confided that he fears I might realize one day that he is not worth my time and choose to leave him, attributing this fear to his imposter syndrome. He has made efforts to carve out more time for me recently and has become more vocal about future plans, booking something for us in a month's time, albeit it was something I had only recently suggested. This evolution feels somewhat awkward given our complicated history, but I express my gratitude to him for any effort to avoid building unnecessary tension. Recently, he expressed his belief that I do not appreciate these gestures, which surprised me greatly. I have written down everything that has hurt me, not only concerning this issue, but also regarding our time together, trust, his avoidance not involving family, and how all of these feelings culminated in a way I can no longer handle patiently. I even acknowledged my role in contributing to our distress during our discussions. He indicated an understanding that the situation is poor and that it leaves a negative impression on me. I conveyed I felt like a jealous, crazy girlfriend, but he reassured me that he did not perceive me in that way, leaving me confused yet comforted by his sincerity. I mentioned how much I missed our friendship, which made him sad since he felt we would always be best friends in important aspects. However, he also noted that some elements I long for were the result of codependency, a claim with which I am unsure I agree. Codependency was characterized by a lack of independence and no boundaries, but in truth, I want to feel prioritized in his life. I absolutely do not want to separate from him. I recognize much of this is a negative response, and I understand that you are only hearing my perspective because that is my current experience. We have some concerns as a couple, but those that exist require ongoing work. I believe many people recover from broken relationships, that people have insecurities, and that working through these feelings is part of creating lasting relationships. Overall, I genuinely think he is wonderful, kind, funny, loyal, thoughtful, generous, practical, and incredibly interesting. I am confident he loves me and shows it in various ways. Yet I miss the effort and focus he once had on us and how secure and safe I felt. I realize there will never be a return to exactly how things were, and I would not want this given we had areas to improve. I do not expect to fulfill every role for him. I am happy he has friends and family investing in those connections. However, I do not want to have to fight to be prioritized. We have worked incredibly hard to arrive at a good place together, and I have zero desire to abandon that progress. I believe that outside of severe betrayal or abuse, most relationships can be salvaged through empathy, kindness, boundaries, and honesty. I know love alone is insufficient when confronted with challenges. I do not know how to support the situation effectively without entirely suppressing my own feelings. Part of me feels I should simply accept things as they are and move forward without causing further stress. However, if one of my friends were to suggest this, I would be concerned. I seek input because I am unsure if I am being unfair to myself or selfish, or if these possibilities are substantially reasonable given my feelings. I have sought personal advice in real life, but this perspective feels biased, even though they are trying to remain neutral. I am working on my self-esteem, which is significant because it means I often convince myself that my discomfort is unwarranted or overly dramatic. However, I have strived to be authentic in this instance, and now I am uncertain if I have ventured too far into this predicament. I know there is work to be done for us to improve, and he has begun making strides in the right direction while intending to continue. However, concerning the discomfort I feel around his friendship and his behavior toward me, I wish to manage this better as it has become quite muddled and has lingered entirely too long. I miss our friendship. I long for the assurance of my place in his life. I genuinely miss being his favorite. I have a therapist, but we are currently on a break for a few months. I recognize the significant role insecurity plays in my feelings, which I need to address independently, but what else can I do? I have been composing this post over several days, aiming to update you before providing more subsequent information. We ended up discussing the situation, and I suggested we experience the event together first, as he sought solutions that did not involve canceling with her. However, when we finally went out, it felt forced, as if I had compelled him to join me, which ultimately distracted from how special it was for me. He mentioned he was not feeling well, and while I cannot blame him for that, it was disheartening. While we were out and chatting, I told him I appreciated that we were participating in the event and that he had also booked something for us later on. He remarked that he liked to think I was appreciative of these gestures, but instinctively believed I did not appear to be, which stung when I attempted to discuss it further. He suggested we should just enjoy ourselves that day. Later, he did not answer when I called to check in, but about an hour later, he apologized for missing my call and texted to check in with me. I felt so uncomfortable about the day, worried his fun with her might overshadow my feelings. I decided to delay my response significantly, apprehensive that if we texted, he would sense my discomfort, leading to a negative experience in his time with her. When I eventually replied, he expressed annoyance that I had not communicated with him all day. I clarified my feelings, but he indicated that I should have informed him I needed space and felt I deprived him of the opportunity to comfort me. Quite frankly, had he cared that deeply, he could have called me. I would have reached out if he had not replied, believing he might have been hurt and needing my comfort too. However, maybe I am being unreasonable. During their time together, he overheard her acknowledge that it seemed like an overreach to do this. She even mentioned that another person had indicated to her that it was inappropriate. My boyfriend expressed that he had also shared with her it felt excessive since he now had a girlfriend. While she seemed to understand, I find it bothersome that both she and he recognized the potential discomfort yet proceeded anyway. This realization reinforces my perception of her, a sense of disregard, leaving me with the impression that my discomfort is unjustified. When I voiced how this had negatively shaped my opinion of her, he countered that I never liked her anyway and that I would really never be friends, which simply hurt me because it is not true, and it indicated he has not truly listened to me, nor understood that I am not upset with her alone, but rather how he approaches the situation. He thought this issue was resolved and that I would feel better once they attended the event together, as he believed that would quell my discomfort. Nevertheless, after everything, I still feel as though I had to fight to establish that my feelings were valid. I am left believing my partner does not care enough to prioritize our relationship, and in turn, that he resents me when I mismanage communication about it. Eventually, I expressed that their friendship felt like she was half of a stand-in girlfriend, which he took as me not wanting him to engage in enjoyable activities with his friends. I proposed that we should check in with each other before confirming significant plans, which he interpreted as me demanding permission to attend pub outings. He brought up another female friend with whom he has gone on trips and attended festivals. I had to clarify that when I met her, she made significant effort to communicate with me and he actively participated. Therefore, I felt safe in his relationship with her, understanding that she valued me. Consequently, this presented a stark contrast with the dynamic I've observed with his newer friend, who appears indifferent about making similar efforts. Hence, I would be uncomfortable with him participating in activities that symbolize deeper connections with her. If I have come off as codependent by wanting to be prioritized or desiring him to consider me his favorite no matter how absurd that sounds, I welcome your perspective. I do not want to diminish the importance of his friendships as they are vital, but it increasingly feels like I have become second best in his affections. This imbalance places strain on our relationship, making me feel that he cares for her more than me, despite his insistence otherwise. I apologize for the excessive length of this message. To ensure clarity, I felt it important to provide enough context and details to circumvent misunderstandings. If you managed to read through this entire account, thank you.